my name is Nishat Noor and welcome to Millennium Headlines. This week's top headlines are: Bangladesh hangs opposition leaders for war crimes. Minneapolis protesters vow to stay outside police station. 4 Israelis stabbed ahead of Kerry visit. Former South Korean President Kim Il-sung dies at age 87. Up to 27 dead in Mali hotel siege. 1 American slain. President Obama's weekly address. Two senior Bangladeshi opposition leaders were executed early Sunday for war crimes committed during the 1971 independence war with Pakistan after their last-ditch pleas for clemency were rejected. Justice Minister Anisul Haq said Ali Ahsan Mohammed Mujahid and Salahuddin Qadir Chowdhury had been hanged at Dhaka Central Jail in a move that was celebrated by supporters of the ruling Awami League. Both of them have been hanged. The execution took place at 00:45 a.m. 1845 GMT Saturday, Hawk told AFP. Hundreds of police had been stationed outside the jail in Dhaka's old quarter, where scaffolds had been prepared to execute the pair. The first sign that the executions had taken place came when 4 ambulances were driven away from the prison shortly before 1 a.m. The 67-year-old Mujahid was sentenced to death for war crimes such as the killing of the country's top intellectuals. He is the second most senior member of the Bangladesh's largest Islamist party, Jamaat al-Islam. Chowdhury, 66, was convicted for atrocities such as genocide during the 1971 war, when then East Pakistan split from Islamabad. He is a six-time ex-lawmaker and a top aide to Khaleda Zia, leader of the main opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Bangladesh's Supreme Court on Wednesday dismissed the 2 months final appeals upholding the death sentences originally handed down by a controversial domestic war crimes tribunal in 2013. Clemency pleas rejected. After news of the execution broke, supporters of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League took to the streets to celebrate and also unfurled huge national flags near the prison. "I've waited for this day for a long 44 years, said Ashwan Mahmood, daughter of top musician Altaf Mahmood, who was killed by notorious al-Badr militia that Mujahid was convicted of leading during the war. We had to endure years of pain and shame as these war criminals would taunt us. But now justice has finally been delivered," she told AFP. Hawk said the two had sought clemency on Saturday from President Abdul Hamid after exhausting all legal appeals to avoid execution, for their pleas were turned down. Sons of the two convicts, however, questioned whether their fathers had in fact sought mercy, saying they did not believe the government statements. "My father said he did not seek any mercy. He was always says he's innocent. He said they are killing him because they could not beat him in elections." Chowdhury's son, Homan Qadir Chowdhury, told AFP after meeting his father for the last time just a couple of hours before his execution. The pair were among more than a dozen leaders of the opposition alliance convicted by a tribunal set up by the secular government in 2010. The convictions triggered Bangladesh's deadliest violence since independence, with some 500 people killed, mainly in clashes between Jamaat-e-Islami activists and police. There are fears the executions could spark fresh unrest in the Muslim-majority nation, which is reeling from a string of killings of secular bloggers as well as the murders of 2 foreigners in recent months. Jamaat called a nationwide strike on Thursday, declaring Mujahid's original trial partial and aimed at eliminating the party's leadership. The international rights groups and legal experts have also criticized the trial, saying it fell short of international standards. On Friday, New York-based Human Rights Watch asked Bangladesh to halt the imminent executions of Mujahid and Chowdhury, citing serious fair trial concerns surrounding their convictions. The opposition says the tribunals are designed to settle scores rather than deliver justice, for the government insists that the trials have been fair and needed to address the country's bloody history. Hasina, whose father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was the leader of the independence movement, says 3 million people were killed in the 9-month conflict, many butchered by pro-Pakistan militias. Independent researchers, however, say the overall death toll was much lower. An encampment of protesters outside a Minneapolis police station vowed Saturday to maintain their vigil over the death of black man who was shot by police, saying they won't move until video recordings of the encounter are released and authorities change how they interact with communities they serve. Tents, fire pits, and stools have been set up outside the 4th Precinct in the heart of a predominantly black section of the city, and just blocks from where Jamar Clark was shot early Sunday after police responded to an assault complaint. Several dozen people attended a union rally Saturday outside the police station in cold weather to show solidarity with the protesters. One speaker, Kyle Edwards of AFSCME Local 3800, representing University of Minnesota clerical workers, said working class people are becoming aware that we're all in this together. Longtime Minneapolis civil rights activist Mel Reeves told the Associated Press that protesters want the police involved in the shooting prosecuted. He said police should go through the same procedures that we do. We think the officers guilty, but let the court decide. Rallies since Clark's death have been tense at times. Protesters shut down a highway Monday evening, and dozens were arrested. Authorities said protesters threw bottles and rocks Wednesday night, and each side says the other sprayed a chemical irritant into the crowd. The police station, meanwhile, was spray painted with Clark's name and anti-police profanity that workers came and removed Saturday morning. Hundreds gathered Friday at sundown for a peaceful prayer vigil and march. Speakers called generally for unity and justice and praised neighborhood residents for maintaining peace. I would like to acknowledge our black brothers for passing out hand warmers, stocking bonfires, and keeping things calm, Pastor Brian C. Hearn Sr. said. Minneapolis Police Department officers Mark Rigenberg and Justin Shores were involved in the shooting, but it's not clear who fired the fatal shot. Both have been placed on standard administrative leave. Protesters and want authorities to release video footage of the deadly confrontation and say they don't believe police statements that Clark reached for an officer's gun. People who say they were at the scene have said the 24-year-old Clark was handcuffed where he was shot, but police have not disputed that. Authorities have said it wouldn't be appropriate to release video from sources including an ambulance, a mobile police camera, public housing cameras, and citizens' cell phones because doing so could taint an investigation by the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. A federal criminal civil rights probe also is underway. Authorities also say none of the videos shows the shooting in its entirety. 4 Israelis were stabbed and wounded in the country's south on Saturday while violence continued to roil the West Bank ahead of U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's visit next week. Police who raided and shut down a Palestinian radio station in the flashpoint West Bank city of Hebron and a Palestinian fireman was allegedly shot by Israeli forces. In the southern city of Kiryat Gat, the four Jews were stabbed by an attacker near the football stadium, police said. Four Israeli citizens were injured, a police statement said. The suspect had fled, hid in a nearby building for more than 4 hours before being apprehended by police, who identified him as 16 or 17-year-old Palestinian from a village near Hebron. Police said two other Palestinian teens were arrested nearby for assisting him. Israelis Megan David Adam Emergency Medical Service said the victims included a man and a woman into their 50s, a woman in her 40s, and a 13-year-old girl, who were moderately wounded but in stable condition. The incident bore the characteristics of a spate of attacks by Palestinians, predominantly stabbings, since the beginning of October, including in Kiryat Gat. On October 7th, a Palestinian stabbed a soldier and grabbed his gun in the same city, which is near Hebron, before being shot by security forces. In the occupied West Bank, tensions were high Saturday as Israeli forces clashed with Palestinian protesters near the town of Deir Samet, west of Hebron. A gas grenade fired by Israeli forces caused a fire in a warehouse, and when Palestinian firemen arrived, the soldiers fired at them, the firemen told AFP, adding that one was wounded in the leg with a rubber-coated bullet. A military spokeswoman confirmed the clashes but said they were looking into the report about the firemen. Elsewhere, clashes between rock-throwing Palestinians and Israeli soldiers near Silwad, north of Ramallah, wounded at least one Palestinian, medical sources said. The army troops had fired on the group but could not confirm any injuries. Earlier, a woman was arrested in Hebron allegedly in possession of a knife. Police said she appeared to be attempting to carry out a stabbing operation against Israeli forces. Radio station shut down. Israeli officials have repeatedly accused Palestinian media of inciting such violence by spreading false information, and forces raided and shut down a radio station overnight. Israel has repeatedly denied it is seeking to change the current rules, under which Jews and Christians can visit but only Muslims can pray at the site. Against the polarized backdrop, Kerry is due to visit Israel and the West Bank next week to push for the violence to end. Peace talks proper between Israel and the Palestinians have been frozen since April 2014. Kerry is due to arrive Tuesday to visit the Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Ramallah for talks with senior Israeli and Palestinian officials. During those meetings, Kerry is expected to discuss ways to ease the violence of improving conditions on the ground. He will also use the opportunity to discuss issues including Syria and the Islamic State group. Former President Kim Il-sung, who formally ended decades of military rule in South Korea and accepted a massive international bailout during the 1997 to 1998 Asian financial crisis, died Sunday. He was 87. The chief of Seoul National University Hospital, Oh Byung-hee, told a televised briefing that Kim died there early Sunday. He said Kim is believed to have suffered from a severe blood infection and acute heart failure before he died. Kim was taken to the hospital on Thursday due to a high fever, Oh said. In recent years, Kim has been treated at the hospital for stroke, angina, and pneumonia, Oh added. Kim was an important figure in South Korea's pre-democracy movement and opposed the country's military dictators for decades. As president, Kim laid the foundation for a peaceful, powerful transfer in a country that has been marked by military coups. During his presidency from 1993 to 1998, he had his two predecessors indicted on mutiny, and treason charges stemming from a coup. Still, Kim pardoned the two convicted military strongmen Chung Do-hwan and Ra Tae-woo at the end of his term. Kim also launched a popular anti-corruption campaign and vowed not to receive any political slush funds, though this was later tarnished when his son was arrested of charges of bribery and tax evasion. He led South Korea in 1994 when the Clinton administration was considering attacking Yongbyon, home to North Korea's nuclear complex, north of communist North Korea's capital, Pyongyang. King lobbied against the idea, fearing a possible war. Kim is survived by his wife and two sons and three daughters. Malian security forces, aided by U.S. and French special forces, ended a 7-hour siege Friday at a Radisson Blu hotel Friday that left up to 27 hostages and two extremists dead, according to UN official. The U.S. Department of State confirmed that an American citizen is among those who were killed. The Washington Post identified the woman as Anita Dittar, a 41-year-old international development worker from Tacoma Park. Al Morabiton, an Al-Qaeda-linked group based in northern Mali, posted a message on Twitter saying it was behind the attack, according to Reuters. The claim could not immediately be verified, a UN official, speaking on condition of anonymity because of a search operation was continuing, said 12 bodies were found in a basement and 15 bodies were found on the second floor, according to the Associated Press. The official stressed that the building had yet to be totally cleared. France's Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, however, said 18 people were dead at the hotel along with one Malian soldier killed in the fighting. It wasn't immediately clear if the hotel dead included the gunmen. Officials cautioned that the casualty count could change as they completed a thorough search of the building. Secretary of State John Kerry said in a statement that U.S. authorities are trying to account for American citizens in the region. In this week's address, the Vice President spoke to his and the President's commitment to protecting our country from terrorists, while also providing refuge to some of the world's most vulnerable people. He emphasized that he and the President consider the safety of the American people to be their first priority, but slamming the door in the face of refugees fleeing precisely the type of senseless violence that occurred in Paris last week would be a betrayal of our values. The vast majority of Syrian refugees are women, children, and orphans, survivors of torture, and people desperately in need of medical help. And all refugees undergo the highest level of security checks of any category of traveler to the United States. The Vice President reminded us that ISIL wants us to turn our backs on Muslims victimized by terrorism. We win by prioritizing our security while refusing to compromise our fundamental American values of freedom, openness, and tolerance. Now the details to this week's top headlines. Bangladesh hangs opposition leaders for war crimes. Minneapolis protesters vow to stay outside police station. 4 Israelis stabbed ahead of Kerry visit. Former South Korean President Kim Yong-sang dies at age 87. Up to 27 dead in Mali hotel sieged. One American slain. President Obama's weekly address. Thank you for watching Millennium Headlines. See you next week.